So what can you remember about Eddie Albert?
Eddie Albert? Oh, what a good actor. Oh, I did a picture called The Dude Goes West, and it was written by Richard Sale and I hope I'm saying it right, Mary Luce, and it was such a good script, which I didn't get that many of. There's a sentence for at Allied Artists. It was what Monogram became, and but that one was the best script, and it was such fun. And he is such a good actor, and it was just great. I loved working with him. He's a joy.
Charlie Ruggles.
Oh, Charlie Ruggles was my father, and played my father, and oh, he's such a fine actor, and it was a privilege working with him, and he's just as nice a person as you'd want him to be. If you remember his work, and I think a lot of people do. So,
Don DeFore.
the,
Don DeFore.
oh, Don DeFore. Oh, well, yeah, he was wonderful to work with. I felt like Pollyanna saying everything is wonderful, but he's a fine actor, and we didn't always like become friends with actors that you work with. It's like you work and then you go. But with Don and Marion DeFore, my husband and I became real good friends, and our families knew each other, and just for a long time when our families were growing up, and we would get together with them, and they're just fine. We were fine people. And his son, Ron, one of his sons, Ron DeFore, now that I've got my computer and I'm on email, and I got email from Ron DeFore and talking about he's collecting things from his father and wanted to know what I had, that I might share with them.
Donald O'Connor.
Oh, Donald. I got to get more wax. He just is a dearest friend, and such a performer. Everybody knows, you think of him and you just think of the wonderful things that he's done, and I got such a bang out of getting to do Curtain Call It Cactus Creek with Donald, and Eve Arden and Vincent Price. I'm trying to think of the one who had, anyway, none of those people, none of us had our own television shows until after we did that, and you look back on that, and it was neat because it was a fun musical, and he is just a joy to work with, Donald, and to know he's somebody that I've kept up with too.
Any anecdotes for him?
Not anything that I can think of, except it was just such fun. Louis Duprat always did all of his dances, his choreography, and so I got to, of course, be included in that. And a while back, I got this phone call, and this voice says, "Be my little baby, honey, be by the log," and it was Donald. That's what one of the songs we sang in Curtain Call It Cactus Creek. Be my little baby bumblebee, with a soft shoe, of course.
What about Eve Arden?
Oh, she's a fine actress, and I never did get to know her personally, but I loved her. But she's great to work with. She's a pro, and then of course she was great in her series.
Hal Roach Jr.
Oh, Hal was, when you stop and think about how much he meant to my career, and that I never knew why he ever contacted me for Margie. I was not what you'd call established as a comedian. I had never met him. And do you know, I never had time to ask him why once we got started. I thought, why did he even think of me at that time? But think of the difference that made in my life, and so he meant a tremendous amount. And of course, then he was good to work with too.
Any anecdotes?
Well, not any that I can think of about him. No, except just it was the one I told you about, Gertrude Hoffman. That was with Hal. It was, when she didn't want to be confused with a stripper.
Hal Yates.
Oh, Hal Yates. That was, I'll always treasure that man, because I feel like I learned more about comedy, about acting from him than I could ever have learned any other way. It was, I just was like an open something for him to feed and teach, and it was great, and up until the kangaroo. He was, you know, he meant so much because it's amazing what a good comedy director can do, and with his experience, it was just. Oh, and he said, I didn't really know who Mabel Normand was, except I've read about, you know, the old actresses way back, and I know that she is supposed to be she was a really fine comedian, and I remember once we didn't have any time much to talk, you know, or visit, but I remember once when he said, "You're as good as Mabel Normand," and for a minute I thought, "Well, that's nice." That was like the nicest thing that he could say to me, and I treasured that.
Charlie Farrell.
Oh, Charlie. He's the dearest and most considerate man that you could ever want to work with. He was just a joy from the word go. You know, he was so good at what he did, and I just always felt so. I never knew my father, you know, and not that could really be a father figure, but in a sense, and I just loved him so much, and he was so dear to me. He was so sweet. I always remember one little thing he did when we went into CBS in Hollywood for stills, and we were both, you know, going to go in for stills together, but he drove his car, I drove mine, and when he went through the gate at CBS where the guard was, you know, before I did, and when I went through, the guard said, he said, "Mr. Farrell wanted to be sure that I knew who you were." And you came in. You know, just a typical of his thoughtfulness and being considerate.
Hillary Brooke.
Oh, she's a lady. I'd love to see her again. I've talked to her on the phone, but she is, to me, she is the epitome of refined, beautiful lady. And we had one very peculiar experience together. We were taken, I forget exactly why we went, but we went together to New York for some kind of a gala or a thing. I don't know what it was, but we were together, and we had we got to the hotel, we had a suite together where we had bedrooms, and then there was the living room area, and we got a phone call right after we got there from this man, and I should be humiliated to say that I could be taken in to that extent. Except she's a very bright lady, and she was too. This man talked to both of us on the phone, and he was going to entertain us at the races or something, and it just was a line like you wouldn't have. I couldn't say you wouldn't believe because it was so believable, but he was a con man. But we didn't know it. We thought it was somebody the studio had said, you know, and it ended. The silliest part, or the strangest part, is that when he finished talking to us, and we were going to go to the races, but he wanted to be sure that we had money on the thing. Anyway, would you believe that Hillary Brooke, the lady, the sophisticated lady, and I put all the money we had in an envelope. A man came to the door, we gave it to him. Never heard of anything again. But that is like, you didn't do that. Yes, we did do that, and I wouldn't tell it, I'm sure, if it weren't for the fact that Hillary. You can't believe you did something like that. But it's done.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, understand everything from then on that other people do.
What about Perry Como?
Oh, he's like laid back strength. I think, you know, it was always a pleasure to be on his show, and because he's just as nice as he seems to be, and except, as I told you, very strong, about what he wants you to do, that's what you do. And I respect that. You know, and I got a kick out of it afterwards.
Dinah Shore.
Oh, she was so good. I love, she's such a beautiful performer, and I love working with her. She's just neat.
Bob Hope.
Very, okay, I don't really know what I'm really telling things that I wouldn't ordinarily tell, I guess. But when I did, I was a guest on his show, and we had this wonderful song, Silver Bells, to do together. And they had a wonderful snow scene, because this was a Christmas time thing. Wonderful snow scene where it's like a park, the stage is set like a park, and the snow is coming down, and we start off stage, and we walk across singing Silver Bells. You know, he sings a line, I sing a line. And we'd rehearsed it, and everything was fine, and and as I say, I don't know what circumstances, what was going on with him, but we're supposed to be walking arm in arm. You know, I mean, we start off together, and I take his, and then we walk all the way down. Well, we get there, and when it comes time for the show, for the take, they start the music, and I start to put my arm through his. He will let me. And I went, but I never did. I have not known, you know, that night, I don't know how that could have just been, but he would not let me take his arm.
So how did you do the
Well,
number?
we just walked along together, you know, and did our thing and sang the song, beautiful arrangement and everything. And I never understood that. And I may never understand it, but, you know, sometimes there are circumstances that something's going on that you don't know about that makes a person behave some way or seem to for you. May have been me, not him.
Jonathan Winters.
Oh, he's great. I love being with him, and he of course, you know, like discovering Jonathan Winters was something really special, because nobody knew who he was at that time until he was on Colgate Comedy Hour, at least that I knew of, and he was so good, and a real neat person too. And I was driving from, this was quite a few years ago. I was driving from Oxnard back to the valley, and I'm going, and my license plate on my car says G Storm, you know, so it pays to. And so I'm going on the freeway, and somebody toots the horn at me, and I think, what is it? And I looked, and it was Jonathan Winters, and he's waving, but he's a neat guy. You know, that was my big experience. How's that? On the freeway.
John Rich.
John Rich was a good director, and I don't have any specific, anything specific that I remember about him, except that, you know, it was good. Very businesslike, very professional.
Zazu Pitts. Zazu Pitts.
Oh, Zazu.
Zazu.
That's the only thing she never corrected anybody about was her name, because she was named after two aunts with a Zay and the Sue. So anyway, she was great. We had such a good time together, and she, you know, those hands of hers, and she would make these handkerchiefs that had hand rolled hems that were big, you know, big, and she'd fling those around, and we'd tease each other. We just always, she was just great, and I teased her all the time because she's very political, which you wouldn't have expected from her, and she would go out and you know, when anybody was running that she wanted and she had any time off, she would go out and stump for that particular politician. You know, I'd always tease her. I'd say, "Don't you want him to win? You know, why don't you leave him alone so he can?" Anyway, we had a great relationship. You know.
Aaron Spelling.
Aaron Spelling, I guess I have met him, and I did Love Boat, you know, and received lovely presents, from which I cherish and appreciate. A silver tray that says the Love Boat episode in a year on it, and then a beautiful a picture that's on the table in there that's from Love Boat. So when you do a Love Boat episode, they treat you really nice.
Did you work with Aaron on that or no?
Not really. He's producer, so he was it. But you go in and you do your cameo type thing, or I had more than a cameo once that I've had fun with.
Angela Lansbury.
Oh, she was great. I love working with her. She's such a pro, and I enjoy her so much. She's just a neat lady.
Stan Freberg.
Oh, he's great. He was like, Stan, that was like discovering somebody that was brand new and so talented. And he was so dear. He'd come into my dressing room and talk about his mom and dad, and he was just a kid, but such a talented kid, and I got such a bang out of seeing his career flourish, and I see him still from time to time and get a kick out of it.
Betty Garrett.
Oh, Betty Garrett is I love her. She's a neat lady, and we did this play together called Breaking Up the Act, and we did it in Florida, and we had a real good time. She's great to work with. I respect her and love her, and she works so hard all the time with the Theater West, and I see her at things I go to too, and we always visit, so I feel really close and nice to her.
Chuck Connors.
I know I haven't seen him, since we did the thing together, but he was good. He was a good actor. And it was fun to see him go on with his own show,
Nelson Riddle.
Oh, boy. I told, you heard that when I got to sing his arrangement, it was like dying and going to heaven if you're a singer, And he was, he's such a he is so the epitome of beautiful, beautiful arrangements. And you feel like you're so privileged to get to work with. But he was so sweet and so nice and so real, and that's nice too.
George Schaefer.
Oh well, he's a director par excellence. I would love to have worked more with him.
Ernie Glucksman.
He was of course producing the Colgate Comedy Hour, which I love doing. So of course I love him. He's a nice man, really, very good. Very good at his work too.
Lee Bunnell.
Oh well, he was only my love that I married. I felt like God had given me so much when he gave me a wonderful, wonderful husband and family, and allowed me to have that, and then allowed me to get to work at a career as well. And Lee he got such a vicarious pleasure out of my work, which is just wonderful. It wouldn't be any good, I don't think, otherwise. But he enjoyed my work so much, and it was great. It was a wonderful marriage.
Paul Masterson.
Well, I only had 8 years with him, but they were he is such a fine man, and it's still hard for me to put him in the past. And after Lee was gone, I never ever expected to marry again. I just thought, and then when these friends introduced me to Paul, and we just enjoyed each other. He was such a fine man, and he'd done so many wonderful things. He was getting on to retirement by then, and he was with the Permanent Charities Committee when we were married, and so we had to live in L.A. or in Hollywood. So while he was working there, but that was about for a year, and then he retired from that. And it was a wonderful marriage too. So I feel blessed, really.
Well, thank you.
Well,
this
thank
has been
you.
Excellent.
I had
Excellent
a real
interview.
good time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh. That's Charlie Farrell, who played my father, and Margie, me, of course, and we're obviously going over a script or something there, and that's about all I know about that. That must have been in the very kind of the beginning of Margie, because I can tell by my hair which way it was going. So that's about all for that one. I can't be more specific. Now let's see. That's of course that's on the Margie set, and it looks like we've got some kind of a problem we're all conferring about. And starting from the left, in back of me that's Charlie Farrell's stand-in, real nice man, and then that's Charlie Farrell, of course, standing in back of my coffee cup, and then that the next one is our sound man, and I'm not sure about that when that he was a member of the crew of Margie, and this the good-looking actor is an actor that, and I worked with him more than once, but I can't think of his name. I can't for some reason, but I hate to use the wrong one. But it's like Cliff Foray, and if I'm wrong, sue me. And I'm not sure who it is in back of him, and but I don't remember anything explicit about that. Now that's a scene from My Little Margie, and along with all of those wonderful-looking dogs, the fella is Margie's boyfriend, Freddie, and of course his real name is Don Hayden, and he's a fine actor, and I loved working with him. He played a real dopey boyfriend. But he was a good, sharp actor. And in fact, his mother and dad had a dramatic school that was very well known when I was starting out, and that was Bliss Hayden, they called it. So his mother, I think, was Bliss, and his father, of course, was Hayden. And I obviously am a maid in a maid's uniform, and I can't remember the names of the dogs. Now that's a scene, of course, I'd say of course because I know, from My Little Margie. And I'm sorry I can't identify the dog that's lying there, but on the left, that is Clarence Kolb. And Clarence Kolb played my father's boss, Mr. Honeywell. My father, Charlie Farrell, who's second in line there, was an employee of Honeywell and Todd. Now, Mr. Todd is not in there, but Clarence Kolb was a funny actor, and he had started out, as I understand it, as a vaudeville act way back that was very well known, Kolb and Dill, as I recall, and he had a hearing problem. Clarence Kolb did, but he didn't want to wear a hearing aid, and the director finally said, if you don't wear a hearing aid, we're going to write you out of the series. So he got one, and then when we were on the set and the director tell him something, he'd say, "You turned it off," and he'd say, "Well, it sounds like a boiler factory in here." But anyway, he was a funny guy, and of course next to him is Charlie Farrell. We've evidently been through an explosion or something that's got us all some dusty color, and then that's the boyfriend again, Freddie. Don Hayden, and that's Margie still in her maid's uniform. And this man over here, I wish I could think of his name, but I can't. But we obviously, Margie has messed up, and everybody's going to be sorry, or he's going to really see to it. And that's all I remember about that. And now I saw all the other dogs in the back. This was a very doggy picture. This is one of my stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And this one, as you can see from the little thing in the circle, this is a star I got for television. That's a television set with the rabbit ears they used to have, the antenna. And then I have another star that's for motion pictures. And then I have one for radio and for records. And I guess I sound like I'm kind of proud, because at that time I didn't even know I had them for sure. They did that. And then when when I found them, I got such a bang out of it because they'd go one was in real near it used to be Grauman's Chinese, but Mann's Chinese Theater, and let me see, and then there's a couple on Vine Street just off, just so people can go and anyway, it was I really feel I guess kind of proud to have those, and I don't know why for sure, but I am. And there you are.
Very good.
That's obviously a publicity picture for the Gale Storm show, Oh Susanna. And I had that on my wall, as you can easily see. It's been laminated. This is a wonderful charm bracelet that they presented to me after This Is Your Life, and it starts on the left end. There is the state of Texas, and it says Bloomington, which is where my hometown, where I was born. And then the next one is, I think that's a little, it says Albert Sidney Johnson Junior High School, and that was for a play called Madam President, and the little lady moves. And the next one is for a drama mask, and that's for San Jacinto High School. And the next one, I think, is a little train, and the little wheels move, and it says Hollywood Bound, and that was when I was brought to Hollywood for the Gateway to Hollywood. And then the thing that looks like a scroll is a contract that I won with the Gateway to Hollywood with the studio, RKO Studios. The next one is a little telephone, and on the back of under the telephone it says Hollywood Banff. And that and that was when before he was my husband, Lee Bonnell called me when I was on a trip for Look magazine and asked me to marry him, come home and marry him. And the little phone had on the dial, you turn it one way and it says hello, another way it says I love you. And then the next one is they kind of jumble together there. I think maybe that's must be the married one. Excuse me, I lean in. Must be the married one with where Lee and I were married. And then I can't see the one after that. Must be must be maybe it's My Little Margie, and then. No, My Little Margie's farther along. That one is Monogram, 6 Happy Years at Monogram Studios, which I've talked about earlier. And then comes a little boy's shoe, which you can't see very well, and that's for my sons Phil, Pete, and Paul. And then the next one is My Little Margie, and that's a little television camera that moves. And after that is a slot machine that you can't see too well, and that's because I played 2 summers, I played Vegas 2 summers in a row, and the little slot machine, when you pull the arm down, the things go around on the inside. And then after that is a 5, which is, I won't go into detail, it was for my husband, for our 5-point plan to keep from the spiritual all the way down to the financial, keep things in line the way they should be. And then after that is a ring and the little house that's kind of out of it. And that was, it says, Our Dream Come True. And that was actually, my husband said it was a house that Las Vegas built. And then there's also one that I've missed, I think, that's a little church with a steeple and a little Bible. The little Bible opens up, and the church, you had a little hole in it when you can look through the little church and read the Lord's Prayer like on the head of a pin. And then the only thing that we add, and then This Is Your Life is underneath those little shoes, and that's a diamond, and it was in 1955, and that's the date with a diamond in the calendar. And the only thing that I added were the little ballet slippers, because we didn't have our daughter Susanna at that time, and so after we had her, then I added her to my life. And there you are. That's my charm bracelet from This Is Your Life, which I think is a real treasure.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.